sector La Piazzola before, but Solitary Souls from the pictures looked like amazing, stunning line. And I heard Alfredo speaking about this line maybe last year or maybe already 2 years ago, and I was sure that one day I would have to come and check it out because it just looked too beautiful. Last year in November, I even ran up to see the wall during a rest day, and looking at it, I was not disappointed. It made me even more psyched to try, but at the same time, a little bit nervous because I could see how long and surely bumpy the route will be. And as I was mostly trying just boulder routes during the autumn and early winter, both in Moravsky Kras and also in Arco, I was quite intimidated to actually try this line because I was afraid that I would lack some endurance for this line. That's why I waited until I was sure that I have done some endurance training, and in March I felt ready. The first part of this climb up to this pretty good jug was okay, definitely not easy, maybe around 8A. In the end, casual than it looked from the ground. When looking at the line, there were some question marks already in this first part, but then as I was climbing, it was more or less clear. Then, right above this rest, I thought that it would be an obvious crux for maybe the whole route. I was staring for a long time into this section of the rock, and usually when I'm onsiding, I have a pretty clear idea of sequences, especially when it's not too high above the ground. And this was definitely not the case, it wasn't that high. But in the end, there were different handholds that I couldn't see from the ground, and there were more handholds. My idea was to do just bunch of really, really long moves, but in the end, it was quite complex sequence on these amazing holds, and surprisingly easier than I thought. I just crushed through the sequence. It wasn't definitely easy, but I was just flowing up the route, and I got to this another rest and I could continue. I knew that this traverse could be maybe a little tricky, but I was definitely hoping that this jug could be a jug, and it was even better jug than I expected. But despite the jug being a jug, the rest was maybe not as good as I expected because the food holds were not that good. So I didn't waste too much time trying to rest. While hanging in the rest point, I usually either try not to think about anything or I just try to check the terrain above. Because often when you check the route from the ground, there are so many things that you can't see, but from the rest, from underneath the next section, the different perspective can tell you so much more. So a rest is always good opportunity to think about the next sequence, what lies above your head. After the rest, my imagination of the next section was that it would be easier, maybe a little bit bumpy, but not hard at all, into one crux, which would be a kind of traverse, maybe 10 meters higher. The reality was that this section was way bumpier than I thought. Decent holds, but always quite big moves. You could kind of shake out all the time, but never really that well. And it's an amazing example of a competition route from maybe 20, 25 years ago that was like really long, consistently pumpy, and pretty much all the time the same difficulty of the moves. The same difficulty of the moves just keeps going on and on. From time to time, you have to clip. Here I was thinking I want to rest a little bit, but after staying here for some time, I realized it's not really efficient and it's much better just to keep going. I was expecting this section to be kind of the same, still just pumpy with no really super hard moves. But now comes the moment which was quite difficult for the onside because all of a sudden I was really surprised that I had to try hard in this move. This left hand is okay, but then this next move is really far crossover move, which is an actual crux of the whole route. I had to actually try quite hard and I couldn't really see how good the next hold is. This section, on the other hand, I expected this would be the total crux of the route. Wasn't easy. I was definitely getting quite pumped, but in the end, the holds were much better than expected. So I got to these two fuzz, and this is the reason why I brought this knee pad. I thought it would be okay rest. The knee bar was so bad that I just didn't really bother to try to put there. I thought trying to put the knee bar would be just risking too much energy, wasting it, and the knee bar would possibly not help me at all. So I had to keep going, but I was quite pleased that I could continually get some shakes. Again, like competition style 20 years ago, all the time the same, but getting more and more tired. Here I was a little bit getting out of the perfect mental flow because I knew that the anchor is close and I knew there is a little bit of margin of my power and I knew that this could be descent. So I was climbing with quite a lot of security, but fortunately the margin was indeed there. I could clip the anchor. I still kind of wanted to continue, but there were no really holds to continue, so I just let go and enjoyed the victory. It was definitely amazing route. Such a pleasure to climb such an amazing line in